Now, our top story today, United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. He also condemned the killings on Gazans at aid sites. Let's listen in to what he had to say at the UN General Assembly.
Over the weekend in Gaza, we saw yet more mass shootings and killings of people seeking UN aid for their families. An atrocious and inhumane act which I utterly condemn. We need an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the immediate release of all hostages, and unimpeded humanitarian access as a first step to achieve.
According to the United Nations spokesperson for the Secretary-General of the UN, Stefan Dujarric, Guterres said the last lifelines keeping people alive in Gaza are collapsing and the humanitarian system is being impeded, undermined and endangered. His spokesperson further added that Guterres deplored rising cases of malnutrition among children and adults and says Israel has a legal obligation to facilitate aid. He reiterated that UN premises must be respected and civilians must never be targeted. Let's listen in to Dujarric's comments.
And as you are well aware, over the weekend, Israeli military issued another displacement order in al-balah, spanning 4 neighborhoods. Our humanitarian affairs colleagues warned that the mass displacement order has dealt yet another devastating blow to the already fragile lifeline keeping people alive across the Gaza.
We're now joined by retired Major General Sadat Karji, who's a senior geopolitical and strategic defense expert. Thank you very much, Major General, for joining us on the program. These United Nations statements come after we saw a letter of over 27 countries, including the United Kingdom, France, Australia, among many others, condemn some of Israel's actions, particularly the blockade of aid and the number of civilian deaths. What's the significance behind these words, Major General?
Thomas, good morning. Thank you for getting me to your show in NewsX World. I must compliment the channel for flagging the issue. And this particular episode is highly deplorable, and I would commend these 27 countries for having come together, impressed upon the global body to ensure immediate ceasefire, because there is no question, there is no scope of prohibiting the humanitarian aid going as a bottom line requirement for the survival of the people in Gaza. I do not see any rationale and logic as to why Netanyahu has to give orders to perpetrate these kind of war crimes when people are virtually dying. They are eating, trying to take out the floor from the sand. It was a very, very painful sight through the optics that actually was going around in the social media. So therefore, I see a lot of meaning. I think it's about time the entire world must come together in a global organization like United Nations Security Council and the General Assembly and put pressure on Israel to stop this mindless conflict and bring mayhem to the innocent civilians and deny them the basic humanitarian relief which is being extended as a last line of survival. Back to you, Thomas.
Major General G, do you think Israel is at real risk here of becoming a rogue state, as we've just seen as this international condemnation has started a commencement of a new ground operation in the center of Gaza, which is actually where Israeli intelligence says there's a real possibility of where the hostages are meant to be being held. This is a region where the Israelis have kept away from conflict throughout this entire time, and we see refugees there and also the real risk of endangering the hostages. What are your thoughts?
I do appreciate you always come out with very brilliant and sharp questions. This is one of them, and I do agree between the hostages who are yet to be released by the Hamas and the relief operation. I think we need to draw a very distinct line. On one hand, you have people who are dying because of lack of survival material. The other hand, you have hostages for which there has to be an ongoing and persistent, relentless negotiation with the stakeholders. I really don't know what is happening. Why is it taking so much of time? But to have one particular issue and action hostage for the reasons of others, I do not see any logic in this. There are two different issues, and survival of people and their requirement needs to be delinked from making the hostages free from the clutches of the Hamas. And Hamas needs to be addressed in a different quarter. For that, military is not the only solution. We need to have very substantive, meaningful, and penetrative dialogue to secure early release of the hostages from the clutches of Hamas. Back to you.
Yes, and one name that we didn't see on this list of countries, of course, is Israel's, some would say, greatest ally, the United States. Donald Trump has been vocal about this issue, once saying that he wants to turn Gaza into the Riviera of the Middle East. How do you think the US president is going to take this statement, joint statement, from some of its closest allies? I mean, particularly with this tariff deadline looming. What are your thoughts?
Oh, well, Thomas, somehow, you see, it's almost close to now 5-6 months post his assumption of Trump 2.0 as president, second tenure as a president of USA. I personally feel each one has got the freedom and liberty to work as a leader. There are some commitments which Donald Trump has made to the constituency of USA. Whether he lives up to the commitment or not, it's a tall order. Now, coming to the specific question that you are asking, I personally feel that these are all daydreams. Turning Gaza into a kind of a Riviera is a pipe dream as far as I am concerned. There are very serious and complex issues. I am mindful of the fact that there was an agreement. It's a classified secret or top secret document. If I recall correctly, Clean Break is the name of the document, in which there is no existence or space for the Palestinians in the Middle East. And that theory somehow has caught the attention of the leadership of the USA. Without publicizing the thing, they have been playing to the gallery so as to fulfill the parameters and the agenda hidden in that document. Netanyahu is part of our deep state, I would say. Therefore, to comment on Donald Trump's pipe dream of turning or converting Gaza into a Riviera is a thing should not be accepted in 21st century in this so-called liberal-based international order. I personally feel the way tariffs, behavior or comments on Gaza or other issues, attacking Iran on nuclear installations, while he had made a promise to his people and the international order that he won't do anything which will trigger new conflicts in the world. He will bring down or close the Russia-Ukraine war within 24 hours, Hamas and Israel within a reasonable time. Contrary to all these assumptions and commitment that he has made, I'm afraid that instead of liberal-based international order, he is working towards a liberal-based international disorder. This I'll say with a lot of conviction as a student of geopolitics, that this is not on in 21st century. It's about time he introspects with the help of his advisors. Is he doing the right thing? Therefore, Netanyahu is not the man who is to be blamed entirely. There is a superpower behind Netanyahu who is perpetrating these crimes and debarring the provision of humanitarian assistance which are being extended to the Gaza people.
Yes, Major General, you are staying with us. We have further updates from the Gaza Strip. At least 12 Palestinians have been killed and dozens